everyone. This is Tremendous Tuesday to you. Welcome to the session of Loosen the Cords That Bind. Let's talk about it. I am Dr. Eleanor Thompson. I am the CEO of Loosen the Cords That Bind, and I am your host on tonight. This is a for-profit business, and I thank God for you on tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know this is the time where everybody's kind of winding down and getting ready for bed and things of that nature. So I thank you and I appreciate you for allowing me to come into your home with whatever platform that I'm on tonight and that you're listening to me. I am thankful to God for life and in fact, for this awesome platform that He has allotted me at this time and this season. And I thank God for that. I thank God for Pastor Thompson Paul and his lovely wife, Lady Michelle Elder Paul. They are the owners of True Life Radio .net. And I encourage you to listen in to the other various programs that they have on this particular station. And I'm pretty sure that you will be blessed from it, from listening and by it as well. And I admonish you to even to support it monetary if you can. If not, just listen in and just be a great support and pray, as well for this particular platform right here. And we just thank God for it, because you don't find sometimes true things are Christian on certain things. So they hold a standard. That's which is the bloodstained banner, and I thank God and I respect them for that. And again, I would like to admonish you to like, click, and share this particular session or with someone. Again, I always say you may not need it right now, but you may meet someone that will cross your path, and that you may be able to bless them by giving them some information that you receive here, right? So again, I am sure that you will meet somebody sooner or later, because sometimes people are like, well, that doesn't concern me. It doesn't concern you now because maybe it's not at your front door, but you never know. You never know in life what things that happen, right? So again, I'm on this platform every second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Again, every second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. And again, remember this thing, that there is life after abuse, regardless of what. There is life after abuse. All you have to do is, if you are in a relationship or some kind of position that you are challenged with domestic violence, reach out for help. Because if you don't reach out, people will not know if you don't say anything. Okay, so you have to say something. You have to make that initial step, and after that, there will be help for you. There are various different programs and things out there that is geared toward DV, which is domestic violence. But all you have to do is make that first step, and everything else will fall into place. Amen. Now, if you are in such a situation where you are being abused, there are different types of abuse. But if you're being abused in any kind of way, and if it's an emergency but your life is in danger, call 911. That's the first thing that you need to do. But if there's things that you can wait for 911, you can call Safe Horizon, and that number is 1-855-234-1042. Again, that number is 1-855-234-1042. And if you're outside of New York City, you may call 1-855-484-2846. Again, 1-855-484-2846. And if you would like to reach out and touch me for any reason, you can call this number. But when you call, please be clear, so I'll know if it's okay for me to get back in touch with you. So, because I don't want to put you, as I always say, in harm's way of any kind. So if you have questions or whatever about resources, then you can call 1-800-454-4639. Again, that's my number, and it's 1-800-454-4639. Now that we have finished with the preliminaries, I would like again to thank you for coming in and dropping in tonight and spending this time with me. I appreciate you the most. Right. So the last time that I had a conversation with you, I was talking and it was concerning about shame and guilt, which we were talking about before, and which just stemmed from the subject of rape. Right. So so for the last session, I told you and I was talking to you about shame, and I was defining shame, and shame was defined as a feeling of embarrassment or humiliation that arises in relation to the perception, which is the understanding and the idea or impression of having um, something done to you, right? Which could be dishonorable, it could be immoral or improper. But that's what the feeling of shame is about. It's feeling the embarrassment or the humiliation that arises, right, from the perception of the things I just said, being dishonorable, immoral, or improper, right? And the perception part of it is the understanding and the idea or an impression that something has been done to you, right? So while shame is a negative emotion, its origin or the cause of the root of it all plays a part in our survival, per se, as a species or a kind of a group or a class, right? Because without shame, we might not feel the need to follow or allow or abide or adhere to cultural norms, usually, or follow the laws or the land or behave in a way that allows us to exist as social beings in this kind of a community, right? So since we want to be accepted, I was saying to you before that shame becomes that tool, and that tool which keeps us in check. So shame, even though it has a negative connotation to it somewhat, it's an emotional and it's a negative emotion, but at the same time it keeps us in check. Because if we know, if like I was saying before, if shame, if you don't want to do something, if you're doing something and say whatever, you would do something, but you know that'll be shame. Like say you want to take off your clothes and walk out on the street. Okay, just saying, um, or you feel like you want to streak, right? Because it's so hot, like the 90-degree weather, or whatever. But because of shame, and because of the norms and the boundaries that we have, and as a species in the social class or group, we are not allowed to do that because it's not correct in the eyes of society. So and then because you want to be accepted and not be rejected, so you're not going to do those things, right? So again, shame becomes a tool that keeps us in check. Like you would say, "Oh, I would love to have slapped somebody, but I know I would have got in trouble. I might have probably would have gotten shamed at the same time. So I'm not going to do that. Why? Because it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, right? And then we also talked about or mentioned that shame can become harmful and be problematic when it becomes internalized, right, or personalized, right, which is the personal qualities, right, and that means that that may result in an overly harsh evaluation of oneself as a whole person per se. For example, I'm a bad person and I am worthless, or that you have no value, or I have no value at all. And the truth of the matter is um, that this has nothing to do with your worth or what you have done wrong. So even, sometimes we internalize these things, and sometimes we put our own self or we jack up our own self because we take these things personal, and then we harp on it, and it grows and it becomes a part of us when it shouldn't be, right? And I also mentioned something about toxic when I was talking to you about something called toxic shame. And in this conversation, I stated that this is a feeling that causes you to feel that you are worthless again. And this happens when other people treat you poorly and you turn that treatment into a belief regarding it to be true. So even though you may not, you are not worthless, you're not worthless at all, because you definitely were bought with a price. So when anybody come up to you, or even the devil speak to you in your mind, no, no, I'm not worthless, because if I was worthless, the Lord wouldn't have to die for me. He wouldn't have given his life for me, because if I was worthless. He gave his life for me because I was worth dying for. In fact, I am an overpayment of what he did on the cross. Okay? So therefore, never think that you are worthless, because the people that are making you feel worthless, maybe they are the worthless ones, if I must say that. But know that you know for a surety that you are not worthless in any way. You are worth something, and much more, to Christ, to God. You know, they may not see your worth, or maybe they don't want to see it, but you're worth more than that. If you were worth dying for and on that cross and hanging on there, on that cross that he did for you, then you are worth something. Okay? And I mentioned also before that toxic shame is also a negative self-evaluation that may stem from messages received in childhood as a result of consistent negative feedback from parents. If you have some parents, not the greatest, and maybe they don't understand, and maybe they don't know, because they sometimes we repeat what we see or what's been done to us, and it's a lot of that that's going on in childhood per se. Where the parents could be very toxic, and the teachers. Some of the teachers are, we have good teachers out there, but then we have some rotten ones as well, very toxic, because they really do not care about the children per se, and other adults as well. So we get it coming right, left, and center. And but these things continue to happen constantly or consistently, it leaves a very negative kind of thing or attitude or behavior on the child, and they start to live out this thing, what they feel has been said to them. If you say you're not going to be nothing, and they keep continue to hear this year after year, from in the home, and when they go to school and stuff like that, they're going to think this stuff. And sometimes that's why you have people out there, even criminals, not because they're bad, but because they were told they're going to do this. So somebody else's word dictated their life for them. Those words made such an imprint that is stuck with them. So we, as parents, as teachers, as leaders or whatever, we have to be careful what we say out of our mouths to people, not children as well, but as people as well. Okay, kids can start to believe that their worth is dependent on exterior variables, and again, the internalized negative belief people see about themselves are specific mistakes. The flaws are the character defects as threats, right? And it could keep them from being accepted or loved, because they have these things. They feel that I'm not perfect. And in this world today, everything is about image. I was talking to a friend the other day, and because everything is about image, how I look. If I don't look like this model here, if I don't have the boobs, if you don't have the butt, you don't have this, that, and other, then you're not attractive. And this is what the media is sending out to people. And God forbid if you already have low self-esteem or whatever. And that's why a lot of people die on the table getting these things done, because of the fact that they want to be accepted, externally, because they're still thinking the external part of it. But what comes out is what's in the inside that comes out, that makes you who you are, not what's on the outside going in. So, you have to know that, God accepted us, and we are fearfully and wonderfully made. But we have to accept that fact. And sometimes it's not easy but we have a society that's so bent on just how everything looks or whatever, and you're being judged by that as well. And then I began to mention some signs that whether you might be experiencing shame reactions or self-defeating reactions, and that's where I stopped at the last session, right? So I went on and talked about the feeling sensitive and unappreciative, and I talked about the blushing and stuff. And these are some of the signs: feeling used, feeling rejected, feeling like you have little impact, being worried about others, what others think about you, and I think that that's across the board. Sometimes we say we don't care what others think about us, but we really do. We do care after a while. Then you get to realize what they think or not, true or not. I mean, it does not make you or break you. You just have to go past that because it's what God thinks about us in the end that counts, not what man thinks. And when we get to that point, God is pleased with you. Doesn't matter what man says, because God is the final. He's the author and the finisher of our faith, and He's the judge at the ending of the day. So then we talked. We're talking about having the last word. Sometimes give them, if they want to have the last word, let them have it, because you can also, like I said, you can whisper something on your breath and say, well, whatever, because what I say is that is that what counts, not what you say, right? So another thing is not sharing your thoughts or feelings because you are afraid to be embarrassed. And I found myself in this part of it because I was searching and looking and wondering why sometimes I had a challenge with, and I said I had because I'm speaking the positive part of it, where you want to say something and you might be in a crowd of people and you all of a sudden, for myself, I get blocked up. I don't know I can't say, even though I want to say something, it's like it's not coming out. It's just like stuck there, and it's just like I'm on mute, you know. But God is a deliverer, and He definitely is a deliverer. But I realize that the things that sometimes we don't know why we act the way we act, but if you start to dig back and go back and things of that nature, we can pinpoint that, and I can pinpoint that part to the rape part and the feeling the shame and guilt, even though I didn't allow myself to be so, or to tell people, or show it to display the shame and guilt, even though I hid it, but I felt it, at the same time. But I feel now, and I realize that this is part of that part that happened. You don't want to be ashamed or whatever, or embarrassed, so you don't say anything, because then you don't know how people are going to take it, or whatever the case would be. So that's where we are, right? And then again, being afraid to look inappropriate or stupid, right? So people say, nah, that's going to make me look stupid, and I might not be saying it right. That's inappropriate, so I'm not going to do that, right? So sometimes you're darned if you do, and you're damned if you don't do, right? Again, being more worried about failure than doing something immoral. The next thing is being a perfectionist. You always want things perfect. You have to, if it's not perfect, then you can't be bothered with it. You don't want no part of it, because you just want to make sure that everything is right, so nobody can't criticize you. Basically, it goes right back to that being shamed, and then feeling like an outsider, or that they are different or left out. I always felt that way, in a sense that I'm different or whatever. So you got other people or whatever, and you're not going to be the same as other people. But then again, you try to not measure up, but whatever, and you really feel that, well, that's not going to work. And so I feel, and I realize that I'm never going to fit in. So after a while, you don't even try anymore. You just continue to do what you do, and accept that you're different, but you're not but you are worthy. Even though you might be different, but you still are worth something, right? Another what I would say self-defeating action would be feeling suspicious, or like you can't trust others. And sometimes, again, because of things that happened in the past or whatever, or could have been recently, it makes it hard to trust people. But you have to ask God to, to deliver you, and we always must be conscious about things that go on around us. We must, but ask God to give us a peace and to show us who we can trust and who we can't. Because somewhere along the line, you have to trust somebody. You have to trust somebody. The next thing is, or the next self-defeating action would be not wanting to be the center of attraction or attention. You don't want to be you don't want to be no part of where the attention is on you. And I feel like that I'm great. I'm background wonderful. You don't have to be in the front. I don't have to be in the front row. None of that stuff. It doesn't even matter. Put me in the back somewhere, and I'm good. Because I'm not hungry for a seat or any such thing or whatever it may be. Being a wallflower or a shrinking violet, you just stay one place. You just don't. You just afraid to move. I remember one time I went to I think it was somebody's wedding, and I sat there the whole time. Everybody was up and around and about. I was sitting, and I felt comfortable sitting. But even though in my mind I wanted to get up somewhat, but it was the shame and I guess the fearfulness that made me stay there. And fear is a hell of a thing, people, because it's false evidence appearing real, but it seems so real at that time. And really, you got to really break that. You got to break that. You have to break it. You have to break it. You have to annihilate it. Because if not, it will take definitely control of you. It will definitely steal. It will steal a lot of things that you should have been doing or should have gotten. But because of fear, it didn't happen. And I know for myself as well, because of fear, I allowed things to happen that shouldn't have happened, or things that I should have gotten and I didn't get because of fear, afraid to move, afraid to be rejected, afraid of getting no said to you or whatever. Yes. Another thing would be wanting people to shut out or wanting to be shut up from people or to withdraw. You just want to be by yourself. You just don't want to be around two people. I know, you get to that sometimes. I know I'm an introvert in some way, although I love people, but I'm not afraid to be by myself or to be alone either, because I think I have more peace when I'm alone. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to be with this one or that one. I am good. And sometimes we as people, we have to learn how to love ourselves enough to be alone with ourselves. Sometimes people don't want to be alone with themselves because they don't love themselves enough to be alone with them. Another thing is the self defeating action is to lose your identity or feeling inadequate. Sometimes we don't know who we are because we try to be somebody else or be like somebody else. So we don't really get to know who we are, our own self, until sometimes you have to be alone and like, wait a minute, who am I? Am I this person or who I am? Am I the person who God says I am, or I'm trying to be like somebody else? Don't be a carbon copy of anybody. Be yourself. Be who you are, and be happy and proud of who you are. Never feeling the feeling of inadequacy, the feelings of regret, and then there's also feeling dishonorable. Again, these are self-defeating actions, right? That means that something's done. There's some kind of movement there. Also, serving to frustrate these things. When you get like that, these things come to hinder us, to stop us, and to disappoint us, right? And thwart our own intention or our interest in whatever we're supposed to be doing or interested in. But these things that I just mentioned, they are self-defeating actions. And we have to ask God to really equip us and anoint us so that we will not be able to fall back on these things, that these things become stepping stones and not stumbling blocks, right? So now we're going to look at some of the behaviors that people may see when they are I would say when they feel shame. And these behaviors or manners are conduct of oneself. The habits and the practices of people, what they do when they feel shame. Like looking down instead of looking people in the eye. And I've caught myself. I know you probably like, well, you did. No, yeah, to thine own self be true. And if, while I'm saying these things, and when I was doing research, I was like, man, I see myself in a lot of this stuff right here. Um, Looking and deliverance comes in different ways, and there's always space for deliverance, right? So looking down instead of looking people in the eye, that's one. Because you ever spoke to someone or was in a conversation with someone, and what they're doing, instead of they're looking you like straight in the eye, they're looking off, not looking at you directly or they're looking at you indirectly, or they're looking down. That's a form of feeling shame, right? Keeping your head hung low, that's another form, right? Because you don't want to look no one in the eye. You just don't want to have no kind of contact, basically, right? That's some kind of avoidance as well, right? And then the slumping of the shoulders instead of standing up straight. Like you can see those little stick people on TV, and the little dark cloud is following them, and their heads are down and their shoulders are slumped. Something of that nature. That's the kind of view that I get, right? So another form, and that's a behavior as well. Learned behavior after a while, right? And then feeling frozen or uncomfortable to move, like I was stating previously. Just don't want to move. You just don't want to do anything. Just stay right there. And fear can definitely can you can be frozen from fear. Like you see something and like on TV or whatever, and the people there was a monster or whatever, and instead of them running, they stand they're like in one spot looking like okay, but like run. That's what you need to do. Get out of the way. But some we just stand right there and let the liars take us out, right? And another behavior is not able to act spontaneously. That means impulsively, willingly, right? Sometimes like I said, we just stuck and we just can't get out of it. We just can't move. And fear will do that. Stuttering when you try to speak, not because you have a stuttering problem. You don't have to have one. But the fact of the matter, when you try, when a person is dealing with shame or whatever, they have problems. They have challenges to speak, when they're trying to speak. Another one is overly soft voice, meaning that they're talking so softly that you can hardly hear them. Basically, like, could you kind of speak up because, and that is, again, they don't want to feel embarrassed, they don't want to feel shame, and they don't want to seem like they're saying the wrong things. So that's where the soft, lowly voice comes in at, right? Or hiding yourself from others. Even crying if feeling shame or embarrassed. Have you ever cried? But that doesn't mean that that something happened to you per se, or that you got raped, that you crying or embarrassed or whatever. But these are some of the behaviors that I'm mentioning that happens when people are feeling shame or and things of that nature because of what happened to them previously. So these are the things that happen, right? So we have to know and be aware of these things. And as I said before, we have to learn how to not be able to judge so quickly, right? We should not be judging so quickly at all. It seems like my time is almost up. So I'm going to give you this and I'm going to be out of your way. The difference, shame versus guilt, is that guilt, a feeling of responsibility or remorse for some offense, wrong, etc., whether real or imagined, right? While shame is a painful feeling of humiliation or distress, caused by the awareness of wrong, foolish, or immoral behavior. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am a mistake, right? And then guilt, again, focuses on our behavior or actions, while shame focuses on ourselves and how we appear to others. And what with shame can arise without us doing anything. It just pop up, right? So there you have it on tonight. I will stop here. And I thank you for listening. And remember, your success will be determined by your own confidence and fortitude, right? Self respect, self worth, and self love all start with self. Stop looking outside of yourself for your value. That's right. Don't look for nobody for your value. You already know that you are valued already, right? So no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Remember that. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. God bless you on tonight. I'm Dr. Eleanor Thompson coming to you again. I love you. I appreciate you. Everybody have a blessed night and see you next time. God's willing. Have a good night.